Theaters of War. What do I think? Obviously, that's generated a lot of buzz. We heard about it at Stars or CitizenCon, and we heard about it again recently. And this is supposed to be the large kind of progressive battlefield where you're kind of moving from one objective to the next, and you're fighting a battle in stages from the surface of a planet to, I guess, an orbiting station, or through various levels of some kind of a fortification, right? And this is one of the big features that we are supposed to be getting rather soon. Now, in all honesty, am I looking forward to Theaters of War? Not really. I I understand why people would be hyped about it. I understand why people would be excited by something like this, like a new mode and, something new under the Arena Commander Star Marine umbrella. Obviously, people are going to be very excited about these things, or some people are. Honestly, given our history with Arena Commander, given our history with, Star Marine, I'm just honestly, I'm not excited about it at all. I look at it as it's this thing that's going to come in, it's going to make a big splash for a while, and then like Arena Commander, like Star Marine, it's going to become kind of dead. And it's going to become kind of neglected because realistically, I feel that it's another iteration of Star Citizen's classic problem. Squadron 42 is one of Star Citizen's, biggest problems, biggest features, biggest problems. In that so much development, so much art resources, and so much iteration on the game happens in this invisible layer of Star Citizen that we very rarely get to see. It's something that we get very, very brief and very controlled glimpses of. And it's kind of always been this source of kind of irritation within the community, because you start to go like, where is it? Where are the features? Where are all the things that they're developing? And then we get this slice of Squadron 42 and we go like, oh, okay, you know what? Now I see it. Now I see it going back to 2015. We were going, where's the game? Where's the game? Where's all this progress? And then we got the leak and we saw the Squadron 42 stuff and went, oh, okay. All right, now I get it. And a lot of things have been kind of hidden in this Squadron 42 layer. A lot of the work that gets done on Star Citizen gets hidden in that layer, and we really don't get to see it, or we get such tiny, tiny little glimpses of it. But, Squadron 42 eats up a lot of resources, obviously. Now, to have a new game mode like Theaters of War added into the Arena Commander brand or bubble, which includes Star Marine, what's the point? I mean, realistically, I would much rather have that effort and that energy spent not really either in either Squadron 42 or Star Citizen. I would rather see it brought into Star Citizen. FPS combat, and this is 3.9 footage, by the way. I think I've mentioned this footage before, but this is the first time I've shown it, because I didn't want to be that guy. But FPS action in Star Citizen is unstable at the moment. It's not really in a good place. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. It doesn't seem to function at all in the way that you would expect it to function. You're just kind of left sitting there going like, what is this some of the time? And now we're building a whole new FPS combat mode where we get to showcase different weapons and all this different stuff. But when the core FPS combat doesn't even seem to be working, I mean, is this really the foundation upon which you're going to build Theaters of War? Now, the footage that I just showed you is a rather extreme example. I mean, that server could have been in complete meltdown. It could have been on fire, for all that we know. But the truth is that FPS combat just really isn't there. AI really isn't there. And
as like
you know,
I was like, I'm
it's
staying
just
out
I
of politics
feel
of it
that
all.
like
I was
when
like,
people
I
are
was on
going like,
my
ooh, the
core
theaters of
concerned
war
scum
thing,
as a group.
I almost
like,
willfully want to
you fail
ignore
to
it and
understand
pretend like it's not there, because
And then
it
he's like, some friends I've got, and I was like,
it
well,
makes
he
me like,
isolated us
it makes
all,
me
you cut
angry,
us all
you
out
know, because
yourself.
I'm
It's
sitting
all
there and
on
I'm
you,
thinking
man.
about
Never got anything back.
really like we're
Well,
you know, it's like we
you're
don't
not
even
fucking
have
wrong.
basic FPS combat working in
Yeah.
a way
Like I said,
that we
it's
would
sad
really
the
want
way
it to
went
be
down,
working in.
but
It
plenty of
feels
times every one of us has tried to help
it feels
them,
kind
tried
of
to
weird
fucking
and
guide
kind of
them the right
janky,
way,
even
and
at the
you
best
refuse
of
to see
times.
it, so
And
you've got much more to
our
say than that,
interactions
no
with the
problems.
universe and picking up weapons and stuff like this, it just
Yeah.
it feels like there's so much iteration that needs to be done on this system, and so much exploration of looking at different possible solutions, you know, and all the, it feels like, why are we spending time on theaters of war and not just spending that effort in refining and fixing and working on the stability of the existing FPS combat? I still maintain that they're, you know, within the confines of just the Stanton system, there's enough interesting stuff going on there in between the different powers in that solar system,
Look,
the
I'm
different
looking for the
landing
Jello already
sites,
for the fucking
that if you
ship.
flesh those things out and you put on you built that on top of a stable
black ones attacks
FP
on
on top of
ships.
stable FPS
yeah,
gameplay,
and you get
even
shit.
with the limited amount of persistence that we have right now, you can still create a very interesting and very entertaining game, not something that you would expect and that you would play and say, okay, this is the finished state of Star Citizen and it's perfect. But you would still look at it and say, okay, we're at a good starting point now. We're finally, so many years later, we're at a good starting point where it can kind of work against that kind of tension and that kind of like, oh, you know, that feeling of just like it feels like we're going nowhere. It's like now you can finally see the progress, and to now take all that effort and just kind of sideline it into a new arena commander mode, which, let's be honest, we know that eventually it's just simply going to be like the other arena commander modes. It's just going to get neglected and forgotten as more effort is poured into either the PU or Squadron 42, because those two will always take priority, as they should. And so, to me, like, when I'm hearing about Theaters of War, I'm like, why?
Down to like 18 minutes.
Do we really need, you know, yet another FPS mode when core FPS is already rife with jankness? I mean,
kind of noticed.
it doesn't. It really doesn't make sense to
me. It kind
me.
of feels like you spend
Now, if someone created a mode like, you remember all the way back in the Pathfinder demo, when you would go to, or when CIG showed us, because you couldn't actually do that in that system, but you know this was before we had 3.0 and all that. But when there was that crashed javelin and the pirates had kind of taken it over and it was their base, what if that was, instead of Theaters of War, what if the crashed javelin on Daymar was a raidable location and you could go in there with your friends and you could walk out with guns or drugs or, you know, different mission objectives. Different people could have different reasons to go there. You know, there could be like a, I don't know, like some kind of decoder piece of equipment that if, you know, if pirates went in there and stole it, then maybe they could use it to make their own hacking chips, whereas, you know, law-abiding players and mercenaries could go in there and raid it to return that and get better standing with the UEE and maybe get access to some unique UEE firearms that maybe aren't accessible right now or only accessible in Squadron 42. Stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of plays that there's a lot of things that could have been done. There's a lot of ways that this could have played out and made, you know, made the persistent universe more rich to kind of create this isolated expansion on the arena commander mode. Like, I don't know, man. And I know that some people are excited about it, but I can't be. I just look at it as kind of as wasted effort and wasted time, you know?
Yeah, literally could not get back
like
in
right
until you
now,
killed me.
what
It was
we
just
need
constant crash
most
desktop.
in Star Citizen is a reason to log in, is a reason to play the game, is reasons to, you know,
it's fucking stupid
to
though. I've never had
enjoy
that
the
many
game.
crashes in
And
this game, I don't
you know,
think.
it's having things like that in
like the
Star
first crash
Citizen which are
today
going to
for me.
make playing
that server a
in the
while, so
persistent
it's
universe
probably
much more enjoyable. It's going to make waiting for the game much more
Yeah.
tenable, much more
fucking
tolerable.
pistol is terrible.
I think would be
It's
the better
worst
word.
pistol.
And
What pistol?
The
I don't know,
fucking,
man.
like,
I realize that maybe within the confines of a very
Also
tight
got
kind
me
of
killed earlier when we were doing the camp mission.
you know,
Sank a whole magazine
server
of
where you
fucking
don't have worlds and
NPC.
all these things happening all around you. Maybe it'll be
Never
more
headshots.
stable. It'll be a much more enjoyable form of FPS until FPS really kicks off.
think
That's a
it's,
possibility, but then maybe state that outright and just say, look, until we get the stability problems fixed, here's FPS at a much more reasonable scale in terms of space that you have to play in. And this hopefully will give you a much more stable experience and a much more playable experience, something that you can kind of look at and say, okay, this is how FPS combat is supposed to be. But at the same time, I would just rather see all that effort poured into just fixing the existing FPS combat, which, quite frankly, it's just it's in a pretty terrible state.
Yeah, they also have to sort out how every time you successfully get out of jail, you crash to desktop.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.